We're on a planet that has a problem. We got to solve it, get involved and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now.
Greetings, Iowans, and thank you for coming today. I congratulate you for showing up. It seems that showing up is something we're going to have to keep doing as we work to block this pipeline. And I predict that's going to mean things in Iowa are going to get even hotter. We are 100 Grannies for a livable future, a fossil-free future, and we have a show and tell for you today. It's going to be brief, so nobody's going to roast. We invite you to stay and enjoy this brief satirical piece. And there will be an opportunity for you to sing along and call out with us as we denounce the inequities, injustices, and illegitimate abuse of power being hoisted on us on the people of Iowa, by our governor and his carefully appointed, not elected, 3-person utilities board. They have decided for the entire state that it is okay to seize Iowans' land and have issued a utilities permit to build a pipeline that provides not a single utility benefit to our state and exposes us to catastrophic damages and huge monetary risk. To start, we want to sing a song for you that may sound familiar. Rock-a-bye, friend said, and IUB born. You want a pipeline we can't afford. Listen to Grannies, get out of that bed. You're making a baby to leave us all dead. You're stealing our farmland, polluting our soil, filling our rivers with ugly black oil. Ignoring our voices, you charge full ahead. Disasters are looming, get out of that bed. We begged and we pleaded to get you to think. You don't seem to get it, the scheme of your state. You don't represent us, you're not being cool. In bed with a pipeline, just make you all fools. Woo! Woo! So in front of you, you can see the signs. As I call your name, wave to us. Miss Libby, IUB. Mr. Nick, IUB. And Miss Jerry, IUB. She's not sitting in the bed because she didn't issue the okay to start building this pipeline before the Army Corps of Engineers issued their final permit, which they have not yet done, and they've already started construction. And now, the person himself rocking the baby is Governor Pipeline himself. We have a few messages for you to see. We're going to show them to you one at a time. Illegitimate. Illegitimate. This pipeline is not a public utility. Again, louder. This pipeline is not a public utility. Illegitimate! Abuse of sacred tribal rights! Illegitimate! Endangering soil and water for corporate profit! Illegitimate! Corrupt use of gubernatorial power! Illegitimate! No public benefit have three people who know firsthand what they have been going through because of this pipeline, this illegitimate pipeline process. There's Kathy. And please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kathy Holdifer, or as my 2-year-old granddaughter calls me, Granny Kathy.
Hey, Granny Kathy!
Hey, Granny Kathy! Woo! As a fellow granny, or a sister granny, and an Iowa landowner, I thank the 100 grannies for standing up for Iowa landowners and helping protect Iowa's soil and water. I live in western Jasper County, just west of Mingo. When I look across my backyard, across the barbed wire fence, I see the rolling fields of my neighbor that butt right up against the Chautauqua Trail. Both that field and that trail are threatened by the Bakken pipeline.
Whoa, whoa!
When I first heard about this pipeline, I also learned that my home was also on the route. I'll never forget the day, November of 2014, when my mail carrier came rolling up the driveway, his hand waving out the window with a certified package in his hand, and he said, "I've delivered 14 of these today, and people are mad."
That's not right.
Inside that package was a letter telling me that I was on the route of the pipeline. And a bunch of slick promotional materials telling me the benefits for Iowa for this pipeline. Well, I'm not an angry type, so I decided to be objective and to look into it myself. I attended the meeting in Newton with the Iowa Utilities Board and Energy Transfer Partners, the parent company of Dakota Access, who is putting in this pipe or wants to put this pipe in, and they explained it all to us. They told us that there were all kinds of good things happening for Iowa. They talked about money, jobs, and energy independence. Well, it was clear from the beginning that they felt they had this all wrapped up. They were trying to bamboozle us into just accepting what was coming, but all I could see was a big stinking pile of crude. So I began to feel really alone. I didn't know what the truth was. I didn't know where to turn for help. I soon discovered that a great many people were out there to help me. It is the truth that we need to find out about the pipeline, and the truth is that this is not a public utility, and it poses a tremendous threat to our land and our livelihoods. In allowing our land to be taken by eminent domain for this pipeline, the Utilities Board has violated their responsibility to the Iowans, and our own governor has condoned the whole thing with a wink and a nod to big oil, who will reap the profits. In fact, according to an article 2 days ago in the Chronicle Times in Northwest Iowa, the daily value of that oil that will run through the pipe just at the beginning, $22.5 million. Who's going to benefit from this pipeline? I think we all know. And this oil will end up at a refinery and be put on the world market. This is not, as they tried to tell us, American oil for American use. Again, a big stinking pile of crude. So, when this whole thing started, I tried to be Iowa nice. But I could see that they thought we were going to be Iowa pushovers. And then I got mad. And so did thousands of others across Iowa and in our neighboring states who are also threatened by pipelines like this. Well, in addition to getting mad, I also got active, which is what I'm encouraging everyone to do. This is not a done deal. This pipeline might have some of this pipe may go into the ground. We're not surprised at that, but oil will not flow through this pipeline. If others are looking for a way to help out, continue to support and encourage your fellow landowners. Many are facing condemnation hearings right now and in the coming weeks. Attend the hearing and tell them you're on their side. Write letters to the editor. Keep spreading the word that this is an illegitimate use of eminent domain, and tell the Army Corps of Engineers to stop this pipeline. They have the power. This is not good for Iowa. This is not good for America, and it's not a done deal. So thank you for joining me and proclaiming that this is not a done deal.
All together now. Not a done deal.
In the break, I live just north of Huxley. The pipeline is slated to go through about half a mile from our place. I talked to lots of people. Pilot Mound, their well for their whole city is within range of when that pipeline will spill. And we know it's not a matter of when, if, it's a matter of when that pipeline will spill. There's just too much evidence. Well, what are we going to do about that? Well, I'll tell you what, we need to find out who's responsible for this. I put all the blame on Governor Branstad. He is putting his power with Texas, Fortune 500 companies and billionaires. He is putting them above Iowans.
Get it right!
Boo! This is going to be our expense. They're not going to pay for any of that spill. It's a limited liability corporation. And guess what? It's just the beginning. Once the IUB said this pipeline was a public utility, guess what's next? Fracking. There's a whole swath of Iowa that is on the map for potential fracking. So you think that if we stop this, we might help stop that? Yes. We have got to look at the future because Branstad is not looking at the future. He's looking at short-term gain. He's got his minions in place. He thinks, again, we're too Iowa nice. Well, we've got over 1,000 people that are signing up to have resistance to this no matter what. So that's what we're asking, is that we continue to stand strong. It is not a done deal.
Not a done deal. Amen, sisters. And thank you, Kathy and Brenda. My name is Miriam Kasia. I'm a retired psychotherapist and a member of Honored Grannies for a livable fossil fuel feature. Say it to the Grannies. I was a participant in the Great March for Climate Action across Iowa for 8 months in 2014 with Ed Fallon of Bold, Iowa. Where's Ed? And I got so well educated and I got so radicalized on that march, I'm now fighting for the earth full time. We Grannies never imagined spending our golden years fighting our own government so that our grandchildren would still have a livable planet where they can raise their children. And frankly, the future of life on Earth is not looking good. Even as we collectively agreed in Paris last year that we must work together on a global scale to reduce our carbon load on our atmosphere, we continue to increase our greenhouse gas output, largely from the fossil fuel frenzy. And that just keeps happening, even as the scientific community tells us we must keep it in the ground. Our climate disruption is happening faster than climate scientists ever predicted, and we are facing irreparable tipping points beyond which our ecosystems cannot recover. That's the painful news. And please remember, ignoring and denying the facts does not change the facts.
Right.
I'm going to read a postcard I've written to these 4 people in front of you. The picture on the front of the postcard, imagine, is right here. And we're calling this In Bed with the Bakken. Actually, this postcard message is also written to all Iowans because we seem to have forgotten that all power is inherent in the people. We must invoke that power expressly granted in both the U.S. Declaration of Independence and in the Iowa Constitution for our right to safety, protection, and security. We must not allow that power to be usurped by the folks on that postcard. So here's the postcard. Dear Jerry, Terry, Libby, and Dick. Thousands of Iowa citizens, just ordinary people like the 100 Grannies, have called you, written letters to you, sent emails, signed petitions, filed electronic comments on your IUB website, sent letters to editors, and opinion editorials to our local newspapers, held rallies and marches, attended information meetings, testified at the one and only public hearing, contacted our legislators, dropped banners from bridges, participated in flotillas down Iowa rivers, held news conferences, filed lawsuits, and made as much noise as, in many ways, as we could think of to let you know how serious we are about protecting Iowa's soil and water from the terrible threat this pipeline of yours poses to our beloved state. We have also stood in solidarity with landowners who have been forced to sacrifice their land throughout your illegitimate use of eminent domain solely for the private profit of an out-of-state corporation. So why have all our efforts, which I enumerated, which are plenty, why have they been in vain? Here's why. They've been in vain so this volatile, polluting, earth-destroying oil can be shipped to the Gulf and exported on the world market to the highest bidder and then overseas to increase the carbon in our global atmosphere. I ask you, what part of public convenience and necessity does this serve for Iowans? None. Is it any wonder we are convinced the game was rigged from the start? And why we are denouncing you today as illegitimate? Today I want to tell you something else. We all have the choice to harden our hearts behind a wall of denial and ignorance. I can only think that is what you have done, because the science and evidence are clear and verifiable and visible all around. But I pray that this time you will listen from some deep well inside of you of decency, compassion, concern for the people you govern, and foresight into the future of life on earth. I'm talking here about fear and grief. It is not just my fear and the Grannies. It is a deepening sorrow that is spreading across our communities and throughout Iowa, from sea to shining sea and around the world. My heart breaks to think of an approaching world without elephants or lions, a world where entire island nations are homeless and untold millions are climate refugees, where mass graves are, as I speak, being dug in anticipation of the thousands of people who will die due to extreme heat. Where a storm is no longer just a storm, but a terrifying event producing devastating flooding and unprecedented winds. A world where drought and starvation are commonplace where they have never before occurred. Where fires consume millions of acres all over our planet, and that burning trees that should be sequestering carbon and producing the oxygen that we need to breathe. This is a world we could not have imagined just a few years ago. And I am heartbroken that I must fight you, my own government, for the safety and security you were sworn to protect.
You're right.
I've just described the path forward that you have helped to advance by advocating and permitting this new fossil fuel pipeline infrastructure. Ignoring the facts does not change the facts. Meanwhile, there are plans ready to be implemented from scientists at Stanford and UC Davis to switch to 100% renewable energy within a decade. The only reason to build this pipeline and continue to pollute our atmosphere, our land, and our water is greed.
That's right. Greed!
What is the only reason for building this pipeline?
Greed!
Most importantly, we want you to know that we are bringing this message to we the people, to show up, rise up, and reclaim our democratic rights. Iowa, this is not a done deal. In the words of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible till it's done. Signed, 100 Grannies for a livable fossil-free future, and all the species, all the children of all species for all time. Thank you. Okay, it's hot. We want to go home. We're going to sing one song. And, no, we're going to do a different one.